Alright, welcome back to our tutorial. And this is how to make a 2D endless runner 6. This is the sixth episode, and then so I've made some changes so far. Let's take a look at them. Let me take this to 150. Alright, so these are the changes which I have made so far. The movement which is going to be updated for the obstacles, I increased it to 2 so that it can match the number with the boulder. So you can see for the boulder it's the same thing, the movement is set to 2. That's the same thing for the obstacle. And then for the spawner, I changed the time to spawn from 2F to 3F. So make sure you do that if you're following this tutorial. Now back inside of Unity, let's start by testing the game to see what has been updated so far. So let's hit the play button. Alright, so we're running, and then an object gets spawned into the scene, and you can see the time is now uniform. The spawning is being uniform, so right now we can go ahead and jump. You can see we've jumped over it. Next one, same thing. And then we can keep on jumping over the obstacles because they are moving in a uniform direction now at a uniform speed. So our game is working just fine. Except if we collide, it's supposed to restart the game. So that's what we'll be doing for today's video. We're going to find a way to pop up a game over UI so that we can restart the game. So that's it for today. Now let's go into our assets. Make sure you open the assets folder, go to scripts, and then hit create. So we're going to do this using our game manager. So name this script game manager. Once you make that script, you can double click to open it up in Visual Studio. Right, and so this is it for this tutorial. Now inside our script, what we want to do is to pop up a menu UI. And to do this, what we need is just a simple function. There will be no need for the update, so we can remove the update as well as the start. Let's delete that. And I want to make sure we are using our Unity engine .ui. So this is it. And inside of our class now, what we need is to find the public game object. And this, let's call this game over with an underscore. So let's call this game over. Alright, and then we can make a function for this. Let's make another function. Let's make this public so we can access it through a button. This is going to be public void void. Let's call this end game. Alright, so for the end game, what we need to do is we copy this game over. Let's add UI to this just to make it cleaner, and we can copy this and then paste it here, and then add dot set active. Set this true, and also we're going to set the time dot time scale. We're going to set this to 0. So this pauses the entire game or all game objects which are active using the time scale, so it's going to pause that. Nothing will be moving at runtime. And then we want to make another void. This would also be a public void. And we can call this restart. For this, we do the opposite. So let's copy these two and paste it here. And set the time scale to 1. And then set this active to false. So it disables the UI for the button, and so it plays the game back to normal speed. So this will be set to 1. Now we can save this and go back into Unity. So once that gets done loading, we can go ahead and right click in the hierarchy and create an empty game object. Rename this to Game Manager. And that should do. So drag this script into this game object and restart the transform or reset it. And then you can see it's looking for a game over UI, which we don't currently have. So right now we can make that by right clicking in the hierarchy, going into UI, and then making an image for now. Alright, so we can reset this to make sure it pops up in the middle. And I don't want it to fill the screen, so let's just scale this to about almost fully screen size, but then this canvas is going to be at constant pixel size, so we can change this to scale with screen size so that it matches the size of our game. Now this, we can scale it to be somewhere around there, and then just give it a random color to make this green, or let's just use the picker tool and get a color from here, brown, so that should be okay. Now inside this image I want to add a text, and then I'm going to increase this text size to something somewhat like 20 or maybe 25, so it's clear. And then let's see, so let's set this to be at the middle, and then we can position this to be up by left clicking on this box over here under the rect transform. Click this and then hold Shift Alt, and then left click on this box over here to show that it's going to be up top. That's at the middle. That's where we want it. So we can scale this text also, or increase the rect to be somewhere around there, and then change this new text to something like game over. Alright, so this should do. One more thing we need is a button. So let's right click on the image, go into UI, select button. So this should be it, and then this button we can reset the text and give it something like restart. So that should be okay. And then the button, we can give it a color of let's see, no, that's too dark. So let's leave it somewhere there, bluish white or so, and this should do. So this will be the UI which will pop. Let me zoom this with shift space. see what it looks like. So this is what would appear to us once we fail the game. So our UI is set. We can deactivate this, but then there is no way to call on it once we fail the game. Let's clear this. There's no way to call on it once we fail the game, and in this case we want it to be when an obstacle collides with our player. So once an obstacle collides with him, then we want that dialog box to pop up. So we can use collision to detect that. Now we're going to go back inside of Visual Studio and make that happen. Okay, so inside of the player script now, what we need to do is we need to make a method or bring on the collision method to detect collision. So we can go down to somewhere around there, and then we can type void on collision, enter. And since this is a 2D game object, or this is a 2D game, what we need to do is signify or indicate that it's a 2D game. So let's type in 2D after the on collision, enter, and then let's open a bracket, and for this we want a collision, and for this variable it's also a 2D variable, so let's call this 2D, and then we can call this variable collider. So we can open up the method now, and inside this we want to check to see if it collides with any of our obstacle. So what we need to do now is use an if statement. So we check to see if our collider dot game object dot tag, if this is equal to obstacle, and we haven't created that tag yet, so we will do that later on when we get back into Unity. But once these two collide, then we want our dialog box to pop up. That's for the restart. So now we can access our game manager. We need to access our game manager and call on the method endgame, since that's the name of the method, to pop up this box and then to pause the game. So let's go back inside of this, and then we can use the find object of type, and this object is our game manager, so we can type in a less than sign and indicate that we want to access our game manager, and then close it with the greater than sign, open bracket to indicate that this is over. So once it locates this class, we want it to call on the method endgame, so we can use a period to indicate that, and then type in endgame right here. So this should take care of our collision. Now we can save this and go back into Unity. Okay, so once this gets done loading, we want to go to our game manager, and we want to attach this UI to it. So in our case, it's an image which is not active yet. So let me set this active. It doesn't really matter whether I set it active or not, it will read the same thing. So for now, let's go into this image and access our button. So for this button, it means we want to restart the game with the button. So let's drag in the game manager down here, and for the function, we need to hit the restart. So that should take care of it, and this works the same way. So now we need to go and tag our prefabs as obstacles, or else they are not going to work. So let's go to our prefabs, and then let's select our spike. Let's go into the tag and select add tag. So let's add a tag, and let's name this obstacle. Okay, so now this tag has been included, so we can tag this as obstacle. Same thing for this wooden one, and for the boulder also we can tag this as obstacle. So let's do that. Then we can check to be certain that these prefabs are the ones. So you can see once I click on the boulder, it highlights this boulder inside of the prefab, and this has been set to obstacle. So it's going to work fine, hopefully. And we can deactivate this image and then test the game. So let's hit the play button. Alright, so the game is in motion. Alright, so you can see it works normally, and then right now we're supposed to load in the scene entirely from the start, but then if I click on the restart, you can see all it does is it just takes this uh, box down. It doesn't restart the game all over again. So let's take care of that now. Alright, so this would be taken care of inside of our scripts. Let's locate the game manager script. So go and open up your game manager. I already have it opened up, and then let's go into the game manager. So rather than just deactivate this, what we want to do is we want to load a new scene entirely. That's the current game scene which we are playing. So let's see. Up here we want to copy this using Unity Engine line of code, and then paste it down here. And in this case we're going to use scene management. Okay, so after it deactivates this UI, and then it sets the time scale back to 1, what we want to do is access our scene manager. So let's type in scene manager dot load scene, and the index for this scene hopefully is going to be 0 since we have no other scene available. So let's save this and go back into Unity. Alright, so once this loads, let's go into file, build settings, and our current scene is called, let's see, it's a sample scene. So before we do this, let's rename our scene. Let's go back into this, double click the scenes, and you can see there is a sample scene here, so we can rename this scene to whatever we want. Let's call this runner, 2D runner. Okay, uh, and so we can open the build settings now, and then add open scene, and this is going to be runner. So you can see that the index for this scene is 0, and since our script has been set up, we can test this game once again to be certain if it works. Okay, since I changed the scene entirely, it no longer recognizes this UI, so I've not set that up yet. I'm afraid I have to do that again. So let's drag this here. Let's set it active first, and then let's drag it to the game manager, and let's be sure that this button works. It also has been rearranged. So let's drag this game manager game object down here, and for the function we can go into game manager and select restart. So I think this should take care of it. Let's deactivate this image, and I think this should take care of everything. Let's clear our console, and let me check the prefabs to be sure that they haven't changed. You can see they are still obstacle. Game manager now has been set, so as the canvas, the image, and everything else. So this should work out just fine now. Let's play the game. Alright, so you can see the box pops up. So let's test the restart button now. You can see it loads a new scene, so which means our restart button works. So let's cancel this. And this takes care of the tutorial for today. In our next video, we'll conclude this game, this 2D runner game completely. So we're going to add a high score to it so we can keep count of how far we go or the distance which we run. So I think this should be everything for today. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, as always, give me a like, subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos, and I hope I see you in the final video.